Welcome to the Blue Chip Academy podcast, the Blueprint to Success interview series providing unique blueprints, tactical knowledge, and best practices to navigate the critical points in the elite sports ecosystem so athletes and parents can prepare a plan to a career path that any athlete can bank on. Our next guest from the DMV area, talent-rich area graduate of Gwynn Park High School, first-round pick, 21st pick overall, out of Baylor by the Cleveland Browns, also spent some time with the Broncos and Redskins, man. Let's welcome Phil Taylor, man. What's up, bro?
Long time, man. How you been?
Man, I've been great, man. You know, just try to kick some games to the youngins and give us some blueprints on how to go through this process, man. We all know that It's not a straight line regardless of what. Everybody has their own path and how to get to it, you know what I mean? And just jumping into your situation and just going through the process, man. Your journey through the process, transition from Penn State to Waco to a first-round draft pick, looking back on the recruiting process, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self about the recruiting process, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, I would have took all my visits. Even if I had a team in mind that I like, just take all the visits. They free. You know what I mean? Go out there and experience other campuses, other cultures, man. Just because, everything, 3 or 4 hours away from you ain't the same when you go down south or somewhere else. You know what I mean? You got to experience these other cultures. And you never know what might change your mind, and you got to always be open to everything, But you got to follow your heart when it comes to that.
Oh, that's real, man. Just level of exposure, right? When you're coming out of high school, you're typically in your city, you might travel around a little bit for playing sports and things like that. But like getting those different cultures coming from the DMV, whether it's going to Texas, going to I don't know, California, wherever it is.
I took 2 visits.
Took 2 visits. Where'd you go?
I went Penn State and Maryland.
That was it.
That was it. It was tough for me to get my visits during the football year because we ain't had no lights on our field, so we played our games on Saturdays.
Okay.
So we played our games Saturdays at 2:00. Me playing under the lights was that was like a blue moon. You know what I mean? So yeah, you had to turn. You get lights, you got to turn up.
Man,
you know what I mean? So yeah,
that's different, man. So like, I didn't even think about that. I know you and
they got lights now. They got lights now. But when I was playing at Gwynn Park, we ain't had no lights. Well, it was a few schools in PG County that had lights, but yeah, most of them didn't.
Wow, that's interesting when you say it. So how did the recruiting process treat you? Like, you couldn't go to games and stuff on the weekend and different things of that nature. I mean,
so when I went to my Penn State visit, I had to. I think I came up there like Saturday after our game.
Okay.
And I kind of like met with Coach and I stayed with Elijah and them. So I got there like Saturday night, basically, or whatever. And then they did my little visit on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was a little different. I didn't really get the field experience and stuff like that going to the game. But it was cool though. But I think I went to a game once. It was like, when was it? Like me, Jerry. I think it was like one of these other big recruiting things. They brought it was a couple times I went up there because I did the Penn State camp, a bunch of stuff. So it was already set in stone. You know what I'm saying? I was probably going to end up going to Penn State anyway. So
no, that's real. So, you were a pretty big recruit coming out of the DMV area. So, like, how did the process treat you? Like, when did you start getting that attention?
I got my first official offer probably like in 10th grade. And I was just a big dude, man. I ain't really know, you know what I'm saying, what I wanted to do. Because my 9th grade year, to be honest, my first day or 2 days, I quit. I was like, hell no. I wasn't used to it. You know what I mean? And my coach Danny Hayes, man, he was a different breed. You know what I mean? And he stuck to it. And my teammates and my dad, man, he came up there the day I quit. He went straight to the field. He was like out there, where Phil at? They were like, oh, no, he quit. So he went in the locker room. I was walking out, you know what I'm saying, with my stuff on, finna, you know what I'm saying, get ready to go. He was like, no, you going to take your ass back in there. And that was all she wrote, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, shoot.
Just out of curiosity, how big were you in 9th grade?
9th grade, shoot, I was probably like 6'2", probably at least 295, 300.
And he was walking out of the football joint like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, that was a bit much, man. We had I was dead. We had these little stations before practice.
Yeah.
And then we had this one coach Cornegay. His was always the first station. He called it the Viagra drill. He said, this one going to make you a man. You're going to be a hard man after this one. But, like, yeah, it was like a big-ass obstacle course, man. I was like, man, never again. But I started, man, after a while, I'm like, it wasn't nothing. That was just the beginning of the practice. You know what I mean? And then, like, sure, we had to run after practice. Like, condition was never my thing. I hated it. But any short sprint, I'm going to kill it.
Yeah, I'm about to say, man, 6'2", 295 as a freshman. Like I said, you still that's a big move. That's big man moving around and all that good stuff. And you was always real twitchy and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
man. So coming from a talent rich area like the DMV, who's your top competition coming up out of high school? I mean, just out of
in my position.
Well, just across the board. I mean, you say you guys played Saturday. Just get an understanding of the type of players that you guys were playing against.
So our rival was Friendly High School. Joe Hayden, you know, he came from out of there. Okay. We played Suitland, you know, that's Navarro Bowman. Roosevelt, they ain't really want us too much. They was 4A, we was 3A. You know who went to Rose. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What's up, D-Will?
They ain't really want they ain't want us too much on the schedule. They ain't want to take no big loss. But yeah, I mean, we played a lot of dudes, man, to be like Evan Royster, you know what I'm saying? Him. Few other people, man. We scrimmaged a lot of guys, but like the inner city Maryland schools, we had a few dudes, but not too many.
Not too many. I always felt like, I mean, maybe we just got them all at Penn State, but I know after me and Derek got up there, I always tell people the story because our class used to get a lot of hype. Like, oh, Justin.
Oh, yeah, the whole DMV, DC. People be like, DMV, they think it's like one little area. That's right. Like, we talking, you know what I'm saying?
Talking the whole joint.
2 other states. Yeah. It's different. It's real different.
You tell cats all the time, that class that came in after us, like I always correct people when they say, hey, you guys had a top class. I'm like, man, we had a couple top guys and there were some good guys that ended up working out. I was like, the class that came after us, man, it was Phil, Navarro, Maven, Jared Aldrich, AJ, all y'all boys came in. I was
Big
like,
Big Abe.
I was like, oh man, these dudes look different, man. I was it was like everybody from the DMV area. How did you choose Penn State?
Man. You said what?
How'd you choose Penn State?
To be honest, man, it was like that year. Even Ralph Friedgen told the Maryland guys, don't come back to the state of Maryland.
Oh,
because that year, I think 8 or 9 out of the top 10 players in Maryland all committed to Penn State. And that was me, Navarro, Maben, Logan L. Yeah, all them dudes. Like, we all committed to Penn State. And it was like I knew these dudes from around the way anyway, so I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying, the camaraderie already going to click because I know these guys, you know what I'm saying, from all-star games, playing against them. So, yeah, it was cool.
Nah, that's amazing, man, because you got set up Penn State big time, just recruiting-wise and just talent in general. That was up there after that time. Like, for real.
For sure.
Like, Mo Evans was in that crew, too. Shout out, Mo.
Bro, it's so many.
Andrew Corliss, I keep thinking of guys. Like, Corliss was in that crew. Yeah.
Chris Bell.
Man, I get goosebumps. I don't think cats understand how much talent they had in that recruiting class.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, being down the line and you seeing, you know what I'm saying, how much talent and stuff, how far these guys could go and how far, like, you think they would have went. You know
this is really true, man. Like, and I really got appreciation for that class after I started recruiting at Penn State. You know, I was there with the class. We brought in Michael Parsons and Pat Fryermuth and all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Then the next class came in, you know, Brisker and these dudes. But I used to always, like, man, your class was always like, was my measuring stick, right? Like, man, if there's a defensive lineman, they're talking about big, twitchy, athletic guy. I always bring up a story of Phil coming in and going to the diving board and Phil's, you know, 320 doing backflips off the diving board. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. This is what athletes look like. You bank and everybody was kind of moving.
It's different now, to be honest, man. They not make. It's a select few big dudes like I was coming out of high school.
True.
But these newer guys, they leaner, man. They quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like the game going with how the NFL, like, everything's changing, you know what I'm saying, with the offenses, everything moving left to right, you know what I'm saying, it ain't that power no more. They kind of trying to take the physicality a little bit out of it, you know what I mean? But it's still going all right.
Yeah, for sure. Because you get those stout ones, man, like at the end of the day, we talk about like that power and quickness and all that stuff. Aaron Donald, at the end of the day, I mean, still fast, strong, and all that good stuff. But the critical factors are the critical factors, man. Cause havoc at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So tell me about the transition, man. You get to Penn State. Like, how's that transition from high school? You say Gwynn Park, you guys playing Saturday, so it's not, you would assume that it's, you guys got great athletes, but just in terms of development of the whole program, if there's not, those type of light situation, how was that transition into like big time football for you?
It was a big transition, just the culture, you know what I mean? The Penn State culture, and me coming from PG County, African American dominated, area, to Penn State, where it's just so broad, so many different, races, and it's crazy, It opened me up to a wide range of things, and it was awesome, I really enjoyed my time there, but yeah, I had to make things work for the best for me, so I had to move on.
Ah, that's real. We'll get to the transition to Waco in a little bit. But when you first got to college, did you have a welcome to Big Ten football moment?
I would say in practice.
Okay.
I would say practice, man, because going up against the hardest thing is always going up against your own teammates, because you go against them every day. They know your weaknesses, they know your strengths, and I would say going up against like Big Rich and those guys, man, Rich Orenberger and those guys, man, and I still remember to this day. You always wanted to, on defense, you wanted that dark blue jersey. You know what I mean? That dark blue jersey, that means you with the ones. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was always, man, a goal to, trying to get better, man. And always playing against better people always will get you better as well.
No, that's real. And it's like a critical advantage of being in elite sports. What Phil's talking about with the blue jerseys is we had this culture of radical transparency at Penn State. So if you were on the first team, you had a blue jersey, and on defense, you had a white jersey, or vice versa, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And at second team, on defense, you had white jerseys. On offense, it was like green, red, or whatever the case may be. So we looked like Skittles at practice, but everybody knew who was on first team, who was on second team, who was on scout team, all that. So you couldn't really, you couldn't hide where you were on the depth chart. It's now the jersey recognized, you got the green jerseys over there, you got demoted or whatever the case may be.
But, you never know. You might have that other jersey in your locker that day. You know what I mean? And that's how it is on the pro level. You know what I mean? You just gotta roll with the punches, man, and always be ready. And that's one thing that the Penn State culture did have was getting guys ready for the next level.
No, 100%. Did you feel prepared, like physically, when you got to Penn State? When you started getting on the field?
Yeah, I was always a strong kid.
Okay.
And but getting stronger, I feel like JT's program in the weight room was a good program, but more his program was focused on endurance instead of really raw strength. Because to be honest, we ain't really free weight with JT. We worked the 30 on the leg press. You know what I mean? And yeah, and he'd kill you on the neck, whatever that I used to hate. But other than that, yeah, he wasn't no big free weight guy. I felt like I got stronger at my strongest was at Penn State by far.
Okay.
With Coach Kaz Kazadi. Not Penn State, but at Baylor with Coach Kaz Kazadi.
Just based on how they were different, like the training there. Mm-hmm. So when we talk
about, it's just a different, you know what I'm saying? I felt like JT, he was more, he had a military background. You know what I'm saying? That's more endurance based, you know what I mean? And not just raw strength and free weight and things like that. When I got down to Baylor with Coach Kaz, man, we power clean and squatting, front squatting, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh yeah, this is shit I'm talking about right here. You know what I mean? And it was just a different ball game. And it suited me better, you know what I'm saying? My body type, you know what I'm saying? The type of player I was.
And we talk about that when we're talking to players going through the process and how to evaluate schools. Because like the one piece I think I overlooked is sometimes the weight room, right? We talk about like what's the philosophy of the weight room, what are they going to do? Because you always think like, all right, I'm going to the school, I'm just going to lift weights. But like you have to have like a mutual beneficial relationship with that person that's telling you what's going on and the type of stuff. Because I had the same issue, whether it was, coming from high school, whether it's track background and doing more powerlifting. So like that explosion looking for it. But understanding that their goal or their methodology in it was, like you said, strength, endurance, and not getting hurt. Like that was Joe's thing, and like it was a give and take amongst. I know I used to butt heads with the strength coach, strength staff, and stuff, and people hear me talk about it all the time. But that's a very important point, especially like as a defensive lineman and you're like coming into your own and physicality from 18,
Oh
19,
yeah, like
20
me,
years
if I
old.
was you know what I'm saying, ever get back in the or get into coaching, my D line they got to be in the weight room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And one of the coaches I had in the league, Jim Tomsula, was my 2 years in Washington. He was big on the weights. He was like, if you ain't got 600 pounds on your back, you can't play for me. Like that type of guy. You know what I mean? Like when the D line in the weight room, he in the weight room. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's that type of guy.
That's the type of defensive lineman. I wish you, like you said, moving that weight because it's real in there in the trenches, man. It's like
for sure.
It's like, I mean, interesting because like your freshman year, you came in the second half of your freshman season. Mm-hmm. How was it mentally getting ready? Because typically when guys, I mean, guys typically shut it down if they're not in playing at the beginning and different things of that nature. Yeah. You came in, start making an impact, and played the rest of the year. How was your mental at the beginning of that season, your freshman year?
It was good, man. I felt like it was all surreal, and I was just trying to basically do what I can for the team. You know what I'm saying? As a freshman, everything was new to me. You know what I'm saying? Playing at, you know what I'm saying, at the Ohio State field for the first time. Being out there in the night game when Ohio State played with us. You know what I mean? It played at us. I mean, it's crazy, like how loud the stadium was and things like that. But it was different. You know what I'm saying? Coming from high school to playing as a freshman in the Big 12, where they gritty and the double teams is coming every other play. Yeah. You had to get real quick. You know what I'm saying? You had to get right quick, and you had to know your stuff. And we was blessed as a D-line to have a guy like Larry Johnson, you know, to help us, you know what I'm saying, and tell us what we need to do in certain situations.
Absolutely, man. He got you guys right, and he was always on point with just the technique and as being a technician, right, and did the proper job of the talent acquisition when you look across the board, because y'all were some big dudes. You, Jared, Bake, man, just causing havoc. Got Maven on the edge, Mo Evans. If I forget anybody,
can't forget my first year we had Big Ed,
Big Ed. I was just thinking about your class. I was even thinking about the older cats.
We was the young dogs, and we looking up to them. You know what I mean? They already knew it.
Yeah, that's Ed Johnson, Scott Paxton. Tom Bahali's and that right before you get there. So we're talking about college. I mean, Penn State, Waco, all those different things. How do you think you would have capitalized on that NIL situation if you were in school?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it depends on what it like. I really can't say what I would have done. Like it would have been cool. Right. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the NIL deal thing now is great, and it will level the playing field when it comes to recruiting in schools, because guys not going to be just going to the big schools just to go to the big schools. They're going to be now guys are going to be like, hey, I might not make it to the NFL, but damn, I know I'm damn sure good now, and I can get an NIL deal going to this smaller school, and I can help my family out. You know what I mean? And guys going to be looking at it at different situations. And I think it's another thing is good because it's going to show guys how to handle money earlier and not have to worry about that as soon as they get to the league. You know what I mean? Because even at Baylor, man, back when I was in college, man, they gave us what? If you living off campus, you're getting about $500-$600 a month.
Yeah, that's about it.
And shit, what? 60% of that probably going to rent. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, this NIL deal going to help guys out a lot, and it's going to show the NFL how guys is before they give them all that money.
This
so
is true.
If you got a guy out there, you know what I'm saying, blowing all his NIL deals and doing dumb stuff, that's gonna be a red flag.
I never even thought about.
It's a win-win.
I never thought about that. I've never even thought about that, like them blowing the money and not going into the evaluation process of another point of like how they're being evaluated. We always talk about like, oh, it's gonna mess them up, but you're 100% right. It's just another evaluation point for these scouts and stuff to understand. Like, oh, did he return this company that called him back? Is he responsive? Just like what type of professional is he at that time? Because you get a chance to kind of show, you know, what you got going on. It gives these
college guys a little bit more responsibility to work to do, and at the same time, it still gives them a incentive. You know what I mean? And I feel like these younger guys are smarter than we were, and I feel like they're gonna do good with the NIL deals. You're gonna have a few guys that, you know what I'm saying, few bad apples is going, you know what I'm saying, trick it off or whatever. but that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? But most of these guys are going to use it for good reasons.
And the ones that do, at least they're only 18, 19 years old, and there's a level of like taking that hit pill, because we used to hit it when we used to go to the bowl games, get those bowl checks.
We live for those.
Live for bowl checks. The bowl checks is gone, man.
a lot of teams.
You could tell me about that.
A lot of teams, like after I got to the league, a lot of college teams, man, they travel together as a team, so they ain't really get the bowl checks like that. They just travel as a team down there. So I'm like, yeah, I'm glad we had it the way we had it.
Jumping on that flight, give us that check, go find the cheapest flight. Boys be whatever. Sure. 6 layovers. I'm keeping as much money as I need.
I think that one what was the last bowl game when I was there we went to?
At the Alamo?
Outback?
Was it Outback?
Alamo. It might have been Alamo,
Maybe
San Antonio.
Yeah,
I think we got I think our bowl checks was probably like 2-3 bands. But for us back then, that was getting
That was it, man. Spend a couple $100 on the ticket, keep the rest in the pocket. Nah, that's crazy, man. That's memories with that, joint. Curveballs and detours we talk about happening in this game and everything. So Phil transferred to Baylor. Can you take us through a little bit of that process of transitioning from Penn State to Baylor? Because, things happen.
Yeah, things happen, man. Like I said, with the whole Penn State thing and the off-campus fight, you know what I'm saying, and what was it, the outside the lines report and stuff. But it was two separate shits. So it was the outside the lines joint with the downtown joint, and then our shit that was on campus.
So just to level set what he's talking about the downtown outside the lines situation where 6 players got arrested. I was one of the 6 players in that whole there's some stuff downtown, read the reports or whatever the case may be. But then a little bit time later, another situation happened and, it was just kind of crossed up a hot time up at Penn State in the moment. But you can go ahead.
And that whole thing, it was, we all learned from it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because I got suspended for, I think I ended up getting suspended 1 game, to be honest. Me and Navarro, I think, was the only people that I think got suspended for 1 game, and maybe Chris. Mm-hmm. But, but that following spring, we couldn't be on campus. We got suspended from campus, so I had to get a job, work out there. It was crazy, man. The funny thing about it, and a lot of people ain't know, JT, he actually, like, when I couldn't work out with a team, when Joe Paul said we couldn't work out with a team, JT took it upon himself. I used to work out at JT house. I had to drive out to JT house, and he'd be having me putting bricks in the wheelbarrow in his backyard, doing shit like that. His kid be in the wheelbarrow, and I'm working out like that.
For real?
Joe Paul found out about that shit and told him he'd fire him if he worked me out again.
What? I didn't know that.
Then the track coach was working us out. The guys who he suspended was working us out at the track joint, like in the sand pits, all that. He found out about that. Put an end to that. So after that, we was basically on our own. We couldn't do nothing. So he was basically throwing us out to dry. And at the end of the day, I was like, man, I got to start fresh. Because even he was talking about, you're going to reinstate us, you know what I'm saying, when camp start or whatever. I'm like, man, I'm going to start fresh because ain't no really getting out of Joe Pa's doghouse. Once you in Joe Pa's doghouse, you can go ahead and hang it up. You know what I mean? And once you've been labeled by him, you know what I'm saying, and he old school dude, you know what I'm saying, it's over. So, and at the time, Coach Norwood took the defensive coordinator job down at Baylor, and one of Coach Johnson's old GAs, Coach Chris Acuff.
Okay.
He was the defensive line coach down there at Baylor with Coach Norwood. So I went on down there and transferred with Coach Norwood, man.
Man,
but it was a good transition.
Yeah, that was an interesting, not even an interesting transition, but how was that transfer process? Did you have any trouble, like getting your papers signed and getting down there and all that good stuff? Because that was prior to the transfer portal.
Only the one coach at Penn State didn't want me to transfer, and it'd be weird that Coach Johnson thought it was the best idea for me to go down with Coach Norwood, which it truly was. Only one coach wanted me to really stay there. Who was the linebackers coach at the time? Coach Vanderbilt?
Vanderlyn. Yeah.
Coach Vanderlyn.
Yep.
He was the only one. He was like, man, I heard about you. Hey, just try to make it work. I was like, nah, it ain't gonna work.
He wanted the linebackers to run free, man.
He knew what was up. He knew what was up. He knew what was up. But yeah, I just had to do what was best for me. Man.
Phil taking up double teams, man. We can't stay here, man. Please. That's funny. No, that's a cool story about JT looking out, man. That was a cool
for sure,
thing just about the staff up there in general. I think they care because like even when we got in trouble, like the little scuffle before Coach Norwood took out his time when they had all the outside the lines and the cameras outside our dorms, like, nah, come over to the house, hold it down, we'll keep you out of the way, and really supported us while we were going through some stuff. And like you said, it was a learning experience and a growing experience for all of us, man. So that's just a reflective story on that piece. We'll just take a quick break, do a LIG Sports read. So this episode of Blue Chip Academy is brought to you by LIG Sports Group, an executive sports firm that focuses on the critical points of the sports ecosystem, starting with the recruiting process with Blue Chip Academy. Then at the college level, we do group licenses development with business development and strategic partnerships. And using that expertise, moving on to the executive side, doing talent acquisition practices through this elite sports ecosystem, helping companies find their next executives using the same methods that we use in elite sports. So anytime you guys have a question or check out LIG Sports Group and the link below. Jump back into this. But yeah, man, so you talk about the transition of players. So I mean, Central PA, you said it was already different coming from the DMV. Mm-hmm. I mean, I lived in Dallas for 6 years, so you get down to Waco. How was that?
It was another culture shock. And it was awesome. And I'm a type of person, I love all people, and I loved it. When I got down to Baylor, I was like, dude, it was awesome. Like, it was like beautiful campus. One side but you got to stay on the right side of the highway. Like this side of the highway, the campus is on, cool. This side is the Waco. You know what I mean? That's what and all the coaches say, yeah, don't go on the other side of the highway. You know what I mean? Like that. But it was cool, man. Just meeting new people. Like the quickest thing was, they was like, damn, why you talk so fast, man? I'm like, I'm from up north, bro. Like, and that's why I probably got that from Texas. Texas people said that most of the time. And, yeah, and just the lingo and stuff. But it was a cool transition. And I was blessed to, man, just to, you know what I'm saying, be able to transfer and still, you know what I'm saying, come out on top.
No, 100%. And that was great that, you know, Coach Norwood was down there too when you got there, man. That's obviously one of my favorite coaches still in my career. Shout out to Coach Norwood and all that good stuff. But when you talk about just the Texas culture a little bit, I mean, you said it was different coming outside of Penn State, but like going through that a little bit deeper, because again, when I lived in Dallas, I mean, outside the city limits, started leaving, it's like, hey man, it's feel a little sketchy out here, man. All that. How, like, did you take time to transition to the culture, or were there other players from the DMV down there at all? Was everybody on the team from Texas?
It was mostly because at Baylor at the time, because I didn't really know about Baylor till I was on my way down there, basically. I was like, damn, how many games they didn't win? I didn't look last 3 years, just 3-9, 3-9, 3-9. And this was Coach Brow's first year, so he bringing in a whole new regime, and that's when he brought in Coach Norwood and them guys. So, but it was cool, man. It was like the heat was different. That's for damn sure. But once I got used to that, because I got big, man. Because I thought I was done for a second. And I was like, man, this school don't want me. You know what I mean? I'm like, now I'm going to have to go, like, if I don't want to sit out, I got to go D2. So I gained a bunch of weight. I was close to probably 400 pounds when I got down to Baylor, bro.
Oh, wow.
Still look the same, still nimble.
Yeah.
But just big.
Just big.
And I literally worked out for a month in that heat and got on the scale. I was down to like 365, bro. And I just kept going down lower and lower. And I think the lowest I got down to when I was at Baylor was probably like 315, 310.
How did that affect? I know it was a different style of play too, coming from the Big Ten. We're playing Michigan, Ohio State, the ground and pound. You get down there, it's like air raid central all over the place. How was that transition for you for a D-line
from
standpoint?
Big 10 to the Big 12? I ain't know what to do. I'm getting mad out there. I'm like, dude, everything they keep throwing these little quick screens. I'm playing those, Ain't only few schools in the Big 12 when I was down there going ground and pound. You had Nebraska, Nebraska. Because at the time, Nebraska, they were in the north part of the Big 12 when they had it split up.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma, they're gonna do both. Who else? Texas gonna run it. But like Texas Tech, I remember one guy, Texas Tech had 77 snaps in that joint. These dudes were I swear they made the hurry up offense. It got so bad they had new receivers running on the field before the one receiver even got tackled. That's how quick they was going. Like we had to tell them, like, hey, they running people on the field before the play even over, because they getting they was really before they had blow the whistle. They was running another play within 7 or 8 seconds from them blowing the whistle.
Yeah, that's a fact, because just so all the listeners, when I was at the XFL, we were getting a game clock down. Sam Sorstein would appreciate this. We're getting a game clock down. We were studying all the fast offenses that were out there, and definitely Texas Tech was one of those teams where it was just look, showing the coaches, Stoops, all these different guys, Pep Hamilton, this is how players or teams kind of operate with this fast, operate under this fast play clock. And you just see the wheels spinning. But that's true. We watched all Big 12 film.
And teams like that got big depth at wide receiver.
Okay.
Probably got 20 wide receivers, all just ready to go. It's crazy, man. But it was a good experience because it did help me when it came to conditioning, because I was out there running left to right every play.
Oh, that's real. So you get to the end of your career down at Baylor. So how does the agency process work? Because we know that agents a lot of times get connected by close people to you and different things like that. Obviously, it goes national. But how was the agency selection process? How did that go for you?
So my first year down at Baylor, since I was transferring to another D1 school, you had to sit out 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
But since I didn't redshirt at Penn State, I just used it as a redshirt.
Okay.
So I set that year out and used it as a red shirt. Then my next year, my first year playing, what was that? 2009. But after my junior year there, I was going to leave after my first year playing. Okay. I felt like I had an all right season or whatever, but you call in and you can get your draft grade as a junior. And this will really humble me. And I called in. And I was home with my parents, you know what I'm saying? I went away, and Coach Norwood knew that I was thinking about it. And he was like, well, just, you know what I'm saying, call and get your draft grade and think about it. And, man, I called them, and they was like, right now, 6th round undrafted. I'm like, all right, I'm going back to school. I ain't doing that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I know they tell that to a lot of guys just to, keep guys in, because they don't want everybody leaving early. Mm-hmm. But I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. So I stayed. Worked my ass off, and then come my senior year, got selected for the Senior Bowl, balled out in that, and then that's when my draft stock really raised right there.
So it was the Senior Bowl performance that you think kind of helped your draft stock, or you think you had a good senior year?
Yeah, the practice, because every day in practice we doing one-on-ones against the best, O-line in the country, and me and my guy Danny Shelton. Not Danny Shelton. That was in Cleveland. But Big Danny, he played O-line at Baylor. We both got drafted first round that year. Okay. And, we both was up there just dogging these dudes. And, that's what we went 2 picks between each other.
So that's amazing. So when Phil was talking about he gets drafted 21st overall, take me through that first day of rookie minicamp. Everyone talks about, we get drafted, you get in there, and then you get there and it's like, all right, rookies, come on in. Let's go through this first grind time. How was that for you?
Well, let me get back to the agent part, though.
My bad. Go for
it. Yeah, because I forget we skipped that. But the whole agent process was I ain't really talked to too many. I had Peter Schaefer.
Okay.
He was Jordan's agent, Coach Norwood's agent, Coach John. I think he was maybe Coach Johnson's agent, but he had some guys. Jimmy Sexton was another one on my list, and Drew Rosenhaus. And I ended up going. I felt like at the time, I think the most genuine one was Peter Schaefer. And still to this day, I mean, even though I'm retired, I still consider him my agent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And Yeah.
Did you have
it's a long process.
Did you have a prior relationship with him before the process, or was it like you just met him when you started interviewing people?
Well, Coach Norwell introduced us,
Okay.
and he was there, to make, you make the introduction and stuff like that. But yeah, it was cool. And I had the three. I met with all three, and I ended up going with Peter Schaefer. And he got me a deal. So yeah, it was cool.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Do you have any advice for guys like selecting agents? Because the dynamics out here have changed a little bit. Just the different ways the NIL guys are signing and getting in bed with different representatives at an earlier age.
Do your due diligence on anybody, because every agent ain't for everybody. Because Jared Odrick had Peter, but then he fired him. You know what I mean? Everybody ain't for everybody. And me and Peter, we had our differences, and we moved on, and we good. But everybody has their ups and downs, you know what I mean? And but I would say to the younger guys, just do your due diligence, and make sure you interview with all these guys, and make them show you their resume. What kind of deals are you getting for guys? How many guys you got? A lot of these bigger guys, they got a bunch of people under them. A bunch of other little agents under them. And don't sign with a guy thinking you only going to be dealing with him. You know what I'm saying? Peter was, I was blessed enough with Peter. He was he was a big agent, but a smaller company.
Gotcha.
It was just him and one other guy. You know what I mean? Like that. And I felt like that was better for me, because I don't like to be, passed along. Like, oh, I need you. You coming to recruit me, I'm going to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? So,
I know you. That's my relationship is with you.
That's what I'm saying. And a lot of the other bigger agencies got 5 or 6 other people, this the guy for this the guy for that. You know what I mean? And nothing wrong with that, but I felt like with Peter, it was more of a personal relationship, you know what I mean? I hung out with the family, he felt more like family, you know what I mean? So that's what I went with that. And yeah, when picking an agent, you gotta look at them as family, because they're going to be the ones that's getting you the deal to put the food on the plate for your family. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's a great piece, man, because agent game is all over the place, right? Guys coming from all over. And like you said, having a big agency is cool and fine and dandy, but you have to have a relationship with who's dealing with you. So guys that are coming out and looking for that representative that's perfect, like that's a match for you, make sure that they're providing value. And like Phil said, show his resume and what he's done, because you don't want to get it passed around. There's a lot of avenues within this game and this elite sports ecosystem, especially when you start transitioning to the NFL, where you want to have somebody that's a Swiss Army knife and has the right connections in the right areas to, service you as a professional athlete, because it's a wide spectrum.
How many contracts have you negotiated? You know what I mean? If you like 5 or 6, that ain't enough. You gotta, if you a big time agent, you got to, you got to have a lot of contract you to negotiate it. So yeah.
No, that's real. Seeing those zeros, those zeros matter.
For sure.
So jumping back into about making that transition to the NFL, get drafted. And I always know, get drafted. You talk to your coach, everybody after the excitement gets down, you reach your dream, and now you report to minicamp or whatever the case may be. How did you feel going into your first rookie minicamp?
It was different for us, because I came in the year of the lockout. So we didn't really get that rookie camp early. Like my first time going into the facility, with the rest of the team wasn't until late July.
Yep.
And usually, the team get back together April, but it's been a lockout. So we really, they barely could send us plays. They sent us like a little playbook pamphlet or whatever we can, learn a little bit. But they really couldn't do too much, you know what I mean? And basically we just had to work out until we got the call. And Jordan was playing with us that year, and we were both working out in Naples, Florida. And they were like, all right, we got the call. We're going to have to be back so-and-so date. Me and Jordan, we basically left like 11 o'clock at night one day. We both drove from Naples all the way up to Cleveland, bro.
Oh, for
Like we took 2 stops for like 30 minutes each, and that was it, man. We left at like 11 o'clock the night before and got there like 5 p.m. the next day.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That was a surreal time, man.
Young
That
days,
lockout,
young
everybody
days.
was. Yeah, I'm about to say everybody was getting in. You talk about get up, drive. Well, I don't know how many was that. 12.
Yeah, I wouldn't
18
even
hours,
dare try to
something
do
like
that now.
that was crazy. So you talk about that transition from the Big Ten to the Big 12, from the ground and pound to the spread. How's that transition from the Big 12 back to the NFL as a defensive lineman?
It kind of gives you a mixture because the NFL is all the conferences basically, and they do it all. You know, it just depending on. And I happen to go to the AFC North, and I learned we call that the black and blue division, and basically, you know what I'm saying, is Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. You know, the gritty teams. I call it, that's the gritty four, really, out of the NFL. The gritty four is the AFC North. And, playing Pittsburgh twice a year, Cincy twice a year, Baltimore twice a year, against guys like Marshall Yonder, Ben Grubbs, freaking, who else? Them dudes.
Guns, man.
Yeah, you had to learn quick, man. You had to learn quick.
And that's real. You said the black and blue conference, man. Like dealing with injuries in professional sports is always just a strenuous thing, and I mean, it was a thing that I had to bear going through it. How did you mentally handle the injuries in the NFL?
It was tough. It was truly the injuries, really the things that really stopped me at the end. But because I really never had a major surgery until I got to the pros, and I had a little MCL at Penn State, wasn't that bad. Nothing really at Baylor, turf toe. Got to the NFL, rookie year was fine. Second year, tore my pec. That was my first surgery right there. Missed the first 8 games, came back. Then the next year, like 5 or 6 games in, I do something with my meniscus. The shit just not right. Like my knee like clicking and shit. And I didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland said, we're going to go in and scope it. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll be back in 3 weeks. Shit still wasn't right. I'm like, damn, what's going on with my shit? So I'm taught another reason. Call my agent. Hey, what should we do? He was like, hey, well, you can get a second opinion. He flew me down to team flew me down to Florida with Dr. Andrews to get a second opinion. He saw what it was right there. I had to miss that season. He had to put 12 sutures in the back of my meniscus. Nice. So whatever the doctor at Cleveland, they ain't really see what was wrong. They just cleaned out the front. They ain't really do their due diligence and see everything, and had me out there playing again, and shit wasn't right. So that's how I had to go get a second opinion. And then next year they threw me right back in the fire. My shit wasn't right yet. And then after that, I was like, man, just go ahead and do what you do. You know what I'm saying? So they released me. And then I spent the year rehabbing. And then that's when Denver picked me up on a futures contract. Okay. And then I go there. Was doing good. I was up there, and then we start camp. I ain't really clicked too well with the D-line coach up there, so it was already a little bit of friction in there. Then I went down with a little minor MCL, and I already, you know what I'm saying, could read the writing on the wall after that because he was waiting for some shit to happen.
I got you.
And spent another year rehabbing, and then that's when Washington picked me up. And what happened there? Yeah, Washington gave me. I worked my way. That's basically 2 years without football, and then I started playing for Washington. Worked my way up to starter. Third preseason game. Tore my quad off the bone. Second play of the game. Dang. Out that season. It was crazy. Out that season. Then they extended me 1 year. They was blessed enough to extend me 1 year. And then, man, I hate to say it, but freaking Jay Gruden, man, just bad coaching part. He had us going live goal line. Ones versus ones. NFL, live goal line. Ones versus ones. And the O-line can cut.
Yeah.
MCL, boom, right there. Came back in 10 days. Like that's one thing I can say. I can come back from a motherfucking injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I learned that quick how to get back. But the shit, like after that, it was just after the quad, really, after being out 2 years, and then the quad after, you know what I'm saying, working myself all the way up to be a starter, it hurt mentally.
Right.
And physically, I could have played. But I think I hung it up more because on a mental aspect, I just got tired of, you know what I'm saying, just going through the rehab process and all that.
Man, that is the realest thing, bro. Like by the time you have those injuries, like you said, if they're not super, I mean, even if they are super serious, right? Like my rookie year, head to toe, and like just going over whether it's a tear here or a strain there, just the mental fortitude to go through the rehab process to get back out because you know you're in the NFL, you're swimming with sharks on a daily basis, so to have any type of ailments or to the point where you can't perform where you want to perform, it's always, like you said, it's a mental warfare. I always thought that was something that was just heavy when I played in the league. Did you feel like support? I mean, obviously, did you not feel supported from the team when you were injured, or was it kind of
to a certain degree? But at the same time, they want you back as quick as possible. You know what I'm saying? They want to know, is he going? You know what I'm saying? You coming back quick, or you know what I'm saying? We gonna have to get somebody else. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about the NFL, man. It sucks when guys get hurt, and, you know, because unless you like, you know what I'm saying, solidified guy, if you get hurt, man, you might as well, you don't know where you might be. You know what I mean? And it's tough.
And that messes up guys' just relationship with, I think, just the medical professionals, right? Because at the end of the day, like you said, the doctors mess up your MRI. They don't see what's exactly wrong with what's going on with you, and you have to find out somewhere else. And sometimes you're in the back of your head, like, was that on purpose? Did they not give me the right thing? Because I did the same thing. Oh, this is here. I go see another doctor. It's like,
because they got me back, and it was like, oh, you be good in 3 weeks. I came back in 3 weeks. We played Cincinnati on a Thursday night. Still balled out. But my knee wasn't right. The shit was like popping out of place and shit like that. So I'm like, nah, man, shit ain't right. And all they saying was you just, you know what I'm saying, you just got to give it time. I'm like, nah, that ain't it.
That's it. And it's funny that you say that because when you in the NFL, it's up to you as a professional to kind of fight back on the doctors. And like through your whole career coming up in high school, it's like, get back out there. In college, they kill you, whoever it is, when you're hurting. You don't really get a chance to listen to your body on how to maneuver or when to say like, all right, no, I need to take care of myself because you learn the hard way. Get to the league, ain't no sucking it up and limping out there. There's no excuses when you getting beat on the field or any excuses when you lose a rep. Like that's your resume. Like it's better to have no film than bad film.
You slacking in the league, you're gonna be packing your bags. They not playing. And I learned that quick in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland. I was just talking about it the other day. One of my buddies, man, I was there my first year. They had a long snapper there that was there 9-10 years straight. He had a streak of 2 games where he had some bad snaps in them games. Cut him.
Gone.
I'm like, this dude been there damn near a decade. And 2 games, all it took. They don't care no more. It's crazy, man.
That is, man. People don't know. Sometimes
it's a business.
It's a business. It's to the umpteenth power, right? Starting at the high school level, like as soon as you go step on a scale at a college campus, you're in the business, right? With the way that the coaches and recruiting staff, the way we talk about players, it's a business decision. We're looking for somebody else to fill your role. We're making sure that we have leverage.
They're looking for the next person to replace you.
Immediately. I tell players that all the time. As soon as I found one player, I wouldn't leave the office until I found 2 other players, just in case you play me and don't pick up my call next day. I'll never feel stressed out or left up to a player. And I tell them from where I'm at now your job is to create leverage and make sure that you're better than everybody that's specialized when the coach is looking at you. Because at the end of the day, we know the sport of football is a level of commoditizing a player, and to be special, you have to do different stuff. So, I mean, did you know that? Did you know it was when it was time to retire, or you said it was like just a mentally, like I'm sick of it? Like, how did you know when it was time to go?
Because because to be honest, I thought I was gonna make the team in Washington my last year, even though I got hurt. And me and the D-line coach, we was close. And he was one of the D-line coaches, Jim Tomsula. And I respect this guy because no coach in my life The first day, this was his first year there too. First day, the D-line, come in the D-line room. First hour of the meeting. You think we talk about football? No. What to be honest, what you think we talked about?
First hour, where everybody came from. Everybody's background.
No? Guess what he had on the board? Compound interest. He wanted guys to get paid playing football. And he just talked about compound interest, talking about how you manage your money, things like that. For the first hour. I don't care about football. I want you guys to get paid playing football. And he did it as a level. Everybody ain't gonna get paid playing football as the top 22 guys. Your top 22 guys is obviously your starters on offense and defense. So it go from 22, then you got 30. You want to get paid being a top 33 guy. If you top 33 guy, that means you're a special teams guy. You know what I'm saying? Then he go to where like the top to almost to where like right before practice squad. You know what I'm saying? Just making the 53-man roster. Yeah. Once you make that 53-man roster, you still getting a minimum wage in the league. Mm-hmm. So he told us all about that. And then that's when he started going over football.
That's amazing. So he was on that using sports as a catalyst and just like monetize this game while you're here. And this is where you're at. Like these are the goals that you want to get to. You're the top 33. I like that. I got a lot of respect for that coach.
He was he coached football at a point in time for almost 10 years. He coached NFL and NFL Europe. So he coached two leagues a year for almost 10 years.
Yeah, I love ball.
And he gave a whole perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because NFL Europe, they didn't pay him that much to be out there in NFL Europe, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, he gave us a whole perspective, you know what I'm saying, of different things. And he's just a Italian coach that grew up in the streets in Pittsburgh, you know what I mean? And he white Italian dude, looked like he got ties with the mafia. He don't take no shit either. You know what I mean? But he a real one, man. To this day, man. I respect that guy.
That's what's up. Coach Tom Sula, man. Another Pittsburgh guy. That's like shout out to him, man. Because like I love hearing about real coaches that give that game because there's a lot of value to be given. And then you may sometimes in the college space or wherever it is now, college coaches are making so much money that transition of feeding into the player athlete development kind of changes into like, how can I be the best coach? What is it about my scheme? What is it about this? We've seen the egotistical coaches all throughout, especially it's like an ego pool when you get to the league because guys are at the top of their profession.
And the thing about coaching at the league, like I wanted to do it, but I felt like it's hard. It's you would think it's easy for a first rounder or a guy that played multiple years in the league to get a NFL coaching job. It's all about who you know.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these guys who get jobs they work with people already or, you know what I'm saying, played in that system type thing. And it's about just waiting. Like nobody I know that retired that I played with that's in the coaching has got a coordinator job or something like that. Like I did the whole little intern thing for a little bit with Washington after I retired. It was cool. It was what was it? It was like the little minority coaching thing program that they had or whatever, where they got to bring in some minority coaches and things like that. And, it gave me a whole perspective on how coaching is on the NFL level. So, yeah, it was cool, though.
And that's a great point that you bring up. It is extremely hard for players to make that transition out of the game because, like you said, sometimes the coaches view the players as a certain type of way. And, like, if you're looking at it from, like, all right, I coach this, you're not getting that credit that you're intellectually
being
picking
a
up
player.
The game.
I'm just trying to give back. These younger guys that's playing,
yeah,
I can tell you, you know what I'm saying, things about the league on and off the field, everything I went through, you know what I'm saying. But from an older coach, it'll feel like I'm kind of stepping on their toes. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling
that's
these
what they
guys
try to protect. That's what they try to protect
me.
from, right? That's what they try to protect from, and that's why there are those gaps that need to be filled when players want to jump over because the guys that are kind of holding the guys that are holding the gate or they're playing the gatekeepers, there's ulterior motives, right? In a sense of might feel like you're stepping on your toes or an NFL guy coming in this guy might not listen to me. But like, as we've seen with certain coaches that do make that transition and start putting those building blocks in place when you time you get that knowledge base up, I mean, who knows the game better than people that have kind of played it? And when you get to the NFL, you're talking doctorate level. It's not just, oh, you're big, fast, or whatever the case may be. Like, you're seeing a lot of different schemes from the top offensive and defensive minds in the game of football, period. Mm-hmm. So like, that's what you do 10 hours a day. So there's things that athletes pick up from that standpoint that should be given more credit. So we talk about that, from just an acceleration path and how you can go through the process. If you want to get into scouting, if you want to get into coaching, if you want to get into administration, understanding and learning, having an opportunity to learn as you're going and getting credit. Like, so the people that you're working with know, like, oh, this person is doing X, Y, and Z as they're going. And it helps modify, I believe, how people operate. That's why I hear we talk about acceleration plans and no fallback plans. Yeah. We know we're going to go. If I'm spending all my time in this football space, why can't I be at the top of football in the business space or like somewhere in here in coaching? Nick Saban, these guys make $10 million a year.
Easy.
You know what I mean?
And if you look at the resume, it's probably at least 3 or 4 other SEC head coaches that have been assistant coaches under Nick Saban.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So it's all about who you know. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Growing that network, fellas, as you're going through the process, remember, man, like these coaches that are at different schools and when you're getting recruited, don't disrespect that upcoming coach that might be at a small school because you never know where he might move up to and he'll remember that you played him when you were 16 or just being disrespectful or unprofessional about your business. Like Phil said earlier, with the NIL and all these different business dealings going through the recruiting process, these are business dealings and people remember how you operate when you do business with them. So make sure that you're on point and understanding how to move around the game. Like Phil said, giving back to to the athletes and what they're doing, know how to move on and off the field and have a capitalization plan. Like you said, Coach Tom Sula showed them where to make your money in this game and focus on that. Because that's kind of the way to capitalize and make yourself some cheese. We talk about using sports as a catalyst. So transitioning out of the game.
A perfect example of that.
Perfect
example of that. If you tuned into the Chiefs game, Eric Reed kicking the field goal and stuff like that. That's what the NFL is about. The more you can do.
The more you can do.
I got my guy, Johnson Batamosi, another Maryland guy, went to Stanford for college, but played with me in Cleveland a little bit. He didn't really see the field too much. He was a cornerback, but didn't really see the field too much, you know what I'm saying, as a cornerback, you know what I mean, and go out there on defense. But he was I would call him a special teams guru. Okay. Yeah. And that's why he's still playing to this day and still getting that 53-man roster money as a special teams guru. You ain't got to, even though you the best cornerback, this and that don't mean you can, you know what I'm saying, that's going to be you on the NFL level. You can go out there and be the best gunner, and that's all they need. And everybody is looking for the best gunners. And you can be the best gunner for 15 years if you want. And you're going to make that money.
Absolutely, man. That talk about it all the time. That was a transition where guys getting ready to go into the NFL. Get that special teams things wrapped around. I was an all-time defensive player, coming out of college, so I didn't play much special teams besides singling guys on punt return and things of that nature. But getting to the league, it's a whole different mindset playing. Oh yeah, special teams, man. That's a track meet. It's a graveyard. It's everything in between out there, man. It's and if you can figure it out, that's the easiest way to keep yourself on a 53-man roster. I know sometimes I probably was average on special teams. I remember thinking damn, I got to figure this out, man. For real.
I didn't do too much special teams because I was a lineman. But if I could, I would.
Straight up. So how's the transition out of the game been for you?
It's been cool, man. I've been more of a stay-at-home dad now. When I was playing, wifey, she put her little career on hold, to take care of the kids and stuff while I'm traveling for ball and stuff. Now that I'm retired, man, we kind of switched a little bit. So now, I'm kind of taking care of, the home and stuff, while she's doing the business side of it. But, it's cool, man. It's another thing about life. You got to learn to compromise, man, and it's all going to work out in the end.
No, that's amazing. That's perfect. And you say you're on a podcast now, right? In the Cleveland area? Can you talk about that a little bit?
The Sports Parlor Podcast, sponsored by Bet Jack. And basically we talk about all Ohio sports, all NFL, and basically about sports betting. And I'm learning every week. You know what I'm saying, about, because I don't really bet like that, but I'm still learning every week.
Yeah, we'll have that link in the bio below, so you guys check out Phil and his episode, get into some sports betting. Make sure you put some money, make some money on the lines, get some of that good inside knowledge, man. So what's the next mountain that you're looking to climb up here in your career field?
Right now I'm just chilling. I'm still, you know what I'm saying, trying to, and that's one thing, man. You know, being in the NFL, you know what I'm saying, you the top at this and that, but once you retire, it's like you back to being a rookie again. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to the real world, and you got to find yourself, and you got to find, you know, what you want to do. You know, last couple of years since I've been, you know what I'm saying, kind of home mostly, you know what I'm saying, I've been breeding my bullies. And that's basically it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a country guy, kind of, after being down in Texas and Penn State. And, you know, I do my hunting and shooting and stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? I do a little bit, man.
Living the dream, man. We talk about using sports as a catalyst to a career. You can bank on the career that we really want to bank on, is that retirement, leisure life that my man Phil is living, because that's what we all dream of getting to, and having the podcast and having the business that's home and having the whole family life. So congratulations, Phil, to like everything that you accomplished. And thank you for jumping on to the podcast. And just to recap a little bit what he talked about, and just like being ready for the process and understand that there's detours along the way that happen, and understanding that you can take multiple visits, man, have exposure throughout this thing, because you're exposed to many different avenues of business, sport, relationships, different cultures. Like Phil's talking about being from a DMV and calling himself a country boy because he got a chance to go to Texas and all these different type of things. But just the experience that we have and the relationships that we build throughout this process can really set yourself up for success and a life that you're looking forward to living, you know, for the time that you're putting in, from the prep years to the college years. There's ways that you can make compound interest in your pocketbooks and in just your personal life. So again, like and subscribe this podcast and this YouTube video. Get a chance, check out the Football and Sports Business Masterclass, and download our recruiting checklist whenever you guys get a chance. And that will be it, man. Phil, appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on,
bro.
No doubt.